Hey guys, welcome back to LoLCollege. I'm really excited to be making this video today because I've been planning this for I think around 3-4 weeks now, and finally got around doing it. I did write the script before, and all of this stuff is improv, but I assure you I've done a lot of planning into this video. Anyways, I'm going to be showing you guys how to play Master Yi today at a very high level. Note that this video is targeted for all players, not just noobs and Master Yi or complete veterans. This video is aimed for all players. Note that this video is the first episode of a 5-part series, so feel free to subscribe if you want to watch the next episode, which is coming next Friday. To most players, Master Yi is known to be one of the most simple and easy champions to learn and play. In reality, this is only partially true. This is because, yes, Master Yi is a champion that's very easy to learn, and against noobs it's quite easy to get fed and carry games. But when playing an even gold elo or above, players already know how to play against that low elo playstyle. So I'm going to be teaching you guys how to play Yi at a very high level. So without further ado, let's begin today's in-depth Master Yi guide. First things first, let's get the pre-game stuff out of the way. There are multiple rune pages that you can run on Master Yi, and these depend on a few factors. Your runes should always change in Master Yi, depending on the enemy champions as well as your team's champions. This concept of changing runes should stay true to all lanes and champions as well. Anyways, your primary tree should always be precision, with the keystone being either Conquer, Lethal Tempo, or Press the Attack. I've also seen people run Dark Harvest on you lately, after the Dark Harvest changes, and it can work in some situations, but I'll explain why it's good and why it's not good later. Basically, it's Future Dan here. I know a lot of people don't really care about why you should pick certain runes, like in what compositions should you bring Conquer, and what compositions you should bring Press the Attack, or Lethal Tempo, Dark Harvest. And so if you don't really care about that, then go ahead, skip to the timestamp on screen right now if you're not interested. But if you're interested in learning exactly why you should bring which rune in which composition, in what kind of team you're facing, then keep watching to find out. Conquer is a rune that should be brought when you're going to split push. This is usually when you know that the enemy team has extremely heavy CC, or you're running Master Yi into a strong teamfight composition while your team is running something like a poke comp. If you're not well informed on this topic of team compositions, I will probably make a video on this in the future, so subscribe to stay tuned. For those that don't understand what Conquer does, it allows you to instantaneously gain bonus attack damage as well as converting 20% of your damage into true damage after being in combat for 4 seconds. This effect lasts for 3 seconds, but will allow you to completely shred your opponents most of the time. The status of combat can be obtained when you're attacking towers or minions, which means you'll have this effect fully stacked up at all times when split pushing. This means when you engage onto an enemy champion, you already have the 4 seconds in combat stacked on a tower or minion and will instantly apply the extra damage this rune gives you, making it the best split push rune in my opinion. Next up, let's talk about Lethal Tempo. Lethal Tempo is a rune that is considered to be one of the best Master Yi keystones in many Yi main communities. Although many people believe that Lethal Tempo is the best rune, Conquer is actually brought by 4 out of the 5 best Master Yi players in Korea, according to op.gg. Another example of a high elo main that also brings Conquer is Kalsa, which is apparently not the top 5 Master Yi players in Korea, but he's also a very popular Twitch streamer, and he brings Conquer as well. In my opinion, this keystone is the best early game rune when you're aiming to get a certain lane fed early. For example, if you've got a Pantheon top lane against an Akali and your win condition is reliant on your Pantheon to win early, then Lethal Tempo is your best bet. There is no doubt that Lethal Tempo is the strongest 1v1 rune in the early game. This is because Conquer is better in 1v1s in the late game, as you lack the initial attack speed used to apply Conqueror stacks on the opponent. To finish off the precision keystone tree, let's talk about press the attack. Press the attack, in my opinion, is the worst precision keystone out of all 4 keystones, except for fleet footwork. I'm gonna be honest. I feel like press the attack is basically Conqueror, but a lot weaker. Press the attack is more of a utility-based rune, as it allows your whole team to do bonus damage to a single champion that has already been weakened by the proc press the attack rune, which technically makes it better than Conqueror for team fights, or at least short team fights, but not so much in long team fights. In my opinion, this rune isn't terrible, but you should probably only bring this into a composition where you aim to teamfight. But if you do want to teamfight, you probably shouldn't have picked Yi in the first place. Obviously, if you did first pick Yi or second pick Yi, and your team just decided to go a full teamfight composition, then you should probably dodge, or I guess you could bring press the attack. Okay, now let's finally talk about Dark Harvest. In my opinion, Dark Harvest is pretty damn shit, but apparently it's brought by the most players that play Yi, which makes no sense because it has a 43% win rate. Anyways, in my opinion, you should only bring Dark Harvest in one situation, and that's when they have no tanks on their team. And when I mean they have no tanks, I mean literally 0 tanks on their team. Summarize keystones, Conqueror should be the go-to rune in 80% of your games, Lethal Tempo if you're aiming to snowball a single lane, Press the attack if you're gonna teamfight a lot, and Dark Harvest if they have 0 tanks. Next, let's talk about the minor runes under Precision, and what you should take. On the first row, you should always take Triumph. There is no exception. Presence of Mind is just really bad. Overheal is not worth it on Yi. This is because you never ever build any sort of lifesteal on Yi, except maybe from Bloodline in the Precision tree, or Ravenous Hunter from the Domination tree, which I'll talk about later on in the video. Okay, this is the good part. Alacrity, Tenacity, and Bloodline are all viable options. Generally, I don't really take Alacrity because of my own playstyle, because you can often hit your attack speed cap, which means it's not as effective, in my opinion. Bloodline is quite good because it gives you survivability in fights, and Tenacity is also really good when they have a lot of undodgeable CC. So what does it mean by a lot of CC? In my opinion, that means 8 or more CC abilities. So if they have 7 or less, that means you should probably bring Bloodline. Now, what do I mean by undodgeable CC? Now, unfortunately, I'm not going to be talking about this in today's video. If you guys want to watch and learn more about this, this will be talked about in the 3rd episode when I talk about matchups, item builds, as well as jungle popping. On the last row, I generally take coup de grace. Cutdown is also viable, but not advised unless they have multiple tanks. Last Stand is just extremely weak, and you should never be fighting a champion on low health anyways. To be completely honest, I think Last Stand should get a buff, since I don't know any champions that would build Last Stand. Okay, we're finally done with the primary tree. Let's talk about the secondary tree. We're almost 10 minutes in and we still haven't finished this video. Surprisingly, you can take any of the 4 secondary trees: Sorcery, Inspiration, Resolve, and Domination. In most of my games, I take Sorcery. Some players like to take Celerity with Water Walking or Gathering Storm, but many high elo players prefer Nimbus Cloak, and in my opinion, it's also the better rune for sorcery. Many games won't allow you to gain the bonuses Gathering Storm gives you. It is not until 50 minutes or longer until Gathering Storm's effects become apparent. Water Walking's effects only apply in the river, meaning it can't always be used. Resolve. Resolve is the rune that you take when you're against heavy CC compositions or against a strong early game jungler, like Pantheon. Usually I take the rune Conditioning and Unflinching so that I can avoid being CC'd as long, as well as gain extra armor and magic resist. I've also seen people pick Chrysalis, Bone Plating, and even Demolish for more pushing power. Domination. Domination is a secondary rune that I personally don't prefer, but also works very well. Note that I'm not discouraging anyone from picking Domination, it's just a personal playstyle. It is basically the alternate choice of sorcery. Many players take Sudden Impact, Taste of Blood, Ravenous Hunter to have better sustain and deal more damage to enemy champions. Inspiration. I basically never take Inspiration, but it does give you free items so you spend less gold, such as taking magical footwear. I would recommend Cosmic Insight or Future Market so you could get free CDR or to get your power spikes earlier with Future Market. The only reason why I put Inspiration here is because I have seen a few players that are in higher elos that do bring Inspiration, but in general, I don't really see it that often. To summarize our secondary runes, I recommend taking Sorcery or Domination as your secondary rune in matchups or games where you think it will be easy to win the early game or at least survive the early game, and Resolve into games where you think you'll struggle a little bit more. You can also take Inspiration if you're just going to farm and you want to hit your early game spikes faster. During the making of this video, a new set of runes called the Offense, Flex, and Defense runes came out. I'm not going to go into a full analysis of what you should bring because I've already made a video on this topic where you can apply this knowledge on not just Master Yi, but on all champions that you play in the future. And you can click here to watch it. But essentially, you bring 9% attack speed in offense, 10% adaptive force and flex, and either the armor or magic resist and defense, depending on the enemy champions, at least for Master Yi. That's about it for today's video. I hope you guys liked it. But before you guys go, please subscribe to LoLCollege for more in-depth tutorials in the future. And don't forget there will be a part 2 of this video released on Friday, next Friday, not this Friday because this is when this video is supposed to be uploaded by. So yeah, see you guys soon.